What's going on? Good morning, Oh, wait. No, that's right. It's nighttime. I forgot Two Dudes Wolfpack. It is the Two Dudes with Attitudes summer schedule, and we are now
Right.
at night, y'all. How does it feel, Shooting Star? How does it feel?
It's gonna be my bedtime here in a minute.
I was
So
gonna say we're,
yeah.
we're gonna have to finish in an hour now because it's like midnight where you are, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
10:20 p.m. So
all
I got
right.
about an hour and 40 minutes and then I become a zombie. So
All right, so we gotta we
let's
gotta go fast. We gotta knock
let's
this
do it.
down in an
Yeah.
hour. Did you watch Dynamite? Did you watch it already?
I haven't
Yes,
watched it
you haven't
yet.
watched.
I
Okay, I
haven't
was gonna make
No.
sure. Yeah, see, mine's going on soon. So, all right, y'all. But anyway,
Yeah.
it is the new edition. It is Wednesday, which means it is WWE Wednesday. One more thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna shoot our AEW ones now on Thursdays at nighttime. Correct? Because we don't
Yes,
want to do
sir.
it Fridays after SmackDown, and who's going to want to watch on
Yeah.
a Friday night after so Thursday's good. Nothing's on unless you're an Impact fan, but you could check that out some other time afterwards or whatever. But yes, so we're going to do Thursdays now around 7 o'clock Western, 10 o'clock Eastern time,
Back to
and
back.
back to back, going back to back. Makes it
That's right.
good. Makes it
Like
good.
the Nuggets next year are gonna go back to back. Let's
Oh,
do it.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It'll be the Clippers. All right, you ready? Oh
Uh,
well, we got to stay healthy. That's the
yeah, you gotta
problem.
keep
Yeah,
them healthy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're and sorry about
That
my
was
kids. You'll hear them. They're loud because it's nighttime. So bear with
right.
us,
Yeah, mine are
podcasters.
asleep and should stay asleep. So
Yeah, well,
hopefully
mine are. Yeah. All right, let's go. You ready? Ready to talk about some SmackDown?
let's do it, man.
Let's get it. SmackDown. Good episode of Smack. Once again, another solid week of wrestling. Wrestling has been kicking on all cylinders, doing their thing. I've been digging it. Good stuff. So there was one main thing I wanted to talk about. There are a couple things, but let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about the Queen, Charlotte Flair. She was back, ladies and gentlemen. So Asuka received her new belt. I think they just took Roman's old one and gave it to her. But either way, she has a new belt. We'll get into that later. And as soon as she was about to, they named her the new champion. What's her championship title called
I
again?
think
What is
she is the WWE Women's Champion.
All right. So
I
she's the
think that's
WWE
the
Women's Champion. Okay. So
yes.
since it was a new title and it's the first one ever, Charlotte Flair gets summoned. She's like Candyman, right? Like you like go into the bathroom and say his name 3 times or whatever, and then he appears. That's what Charlotte Flair is with wrestling. As soon as there's a championship belt that she hasn't won, she appears. I guarantee she wasn't even there. I guarantee she was like in Mexico or like Canada. She just like appeared there. It was like new belt. And she walks down and basically challenges Asuka for the title. And Adam Pearce is like, you got it, dude. Even Full House reference.
I like it. Yeah.
Even though he just told Bianca Belair that she was getting a title and then yada yada yada. But what I want to talk about is why? Why does so I talk about people all the time with wrestlers, right? How I don't think titles make you the best, right? I think you can be in the top 5, top 10, never being a champion or having a title once. I think HBK is the greatest of all time. Dude had what, like 4 world championships? I think only 4. I don't go off of like John Cena and Ric Flair being the best because they've had the belt 17, 16 times or whatever. I've always thought that you should make your talents and your legacy based off your skills, your, in ring, what you do in there, mic skills, all this stuff, right? What I'm confused on is that there's a couple people that are based off of titles. I don't think you when you think of them, you think of a championship. So their legacy is more based on that. John Cena is one of them. That's why I don't like John Cena, because he always had to have a belt. Even when he wasn't in the world championship title and he gave it to other people, he had to go win the US title and become like the US. He always needs a title. Charlotte Flair has become that person, and it bothers me because she is so damn talented, so good. She's one of the best female workers ever. People will probably say she is the best, and I wouldn't even argue it, that each its own. But she needs a title. She like has to have a title. She cannot, when she loses the title, she gets off TV. And then when she wins it, and then she comes right back to win another title again. It drives me crazy. I'm all against it. Like, we just got Asuka the belt, and now we're going to give it to Charlotte's never lost, so she's going to win. I don't understand what's going on. She walked out, and I threw up all over my couch. So I don't know. I was like, here we go again. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And considering my problem with Charlotte too is the last time we saw her was at WrestleMania against Rhea Ripley, which she lost. and then she was smiling at the end,
Mhm.
like it was no big deal that she lost, because she probably knew, hey, in 3 months from this exact date, I'm going to challenge Asuka for the women's title. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just, I don't know. I do think, and it makes me wonder too, with Roman being the champion now for over 1,000 days, is the narrative changing on title reigns? Is the number of title reigns more important, or is it the number, how long the reign is, that's more
Mhm.
important? So, the fact that Charlotte Flair could break her father's record and be a 17-time women's champion in WWE, is that a huge accomplishment now, or
Mhm.
is Roman kind of setting the precedent that it's the length of the reign that matters? So there does open up a cool discussion there. But oh man, I I didn't like this. The one thing I do take out of this is I think it's setting up for a Bianca Belair heel turn, and I think that she's going to use it to get back at Asuka. She's going to go after Charlotte Flair, who's supposed to be a big baby face now, and I
Mhm.
think she's going to be this heel, because the day after on SmackDown, she tweeted on she went out on social media and said on June 10th, SmackDown was on June the 9th. She
Okay.
said, "Been processing what went down last night, so let me get this straight. I did exactly what was asked of me. I agreed to let Asuka have her moment as long as I got my rematch, just for Charlotte to come out, demand, and get handed a rematch. Am I tripping, or am I tripping?" It makes me wonder
Ooh.
if there's a character change in the works for Bianca Belair, and that she's not going to play the little Miss Nice Girl anymore, and she's going to, if she's not going to get it, she's going to take what she wants. Because that's what Charlotte Flair is doing.
Mhm.
She doesn't need to earn it. She is the EST of WWE. She doesn't need to earn anything. So I do think that's the one saving grace I take out of this, is that maybe it's going to lead to a Bianca Belair heel turn and a character change for her, which I think is long overdue and much needed. So I will take that out of it. But Asuka and Charlotte Flair, I just have this feeling, man. I think that we're going to see a title change at Money in the
Ugh.
Bank, and I think it's going to be Charlotte Flair. I think she's gonna do it, and we just gave this belt to Asuka. Asuka should have gone over at WrestleMania. She didn't. She went
Mhm.
over instead in Saudi Arabia, and now I have a feeling that Charlotte Flair is going to come in and kill her momentum, just like she killed Ronda Rousey's momentum, just like
Mhm.
she tried to kill Rhea Ripley's momentum.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's my fear with all this.
Yeah, she's literally John Cena. That's what she is. A person who
Yeah,
needs a belt who ruins people and brings them down a notch whenever they're trying to get hot Wade Barrett. But yeah, but I got to tell you this much. I have to agree that title reigns, how long you have it, is way more important than how many times you've had it. Just in my opinion, just because you win it 17 times, that means you lost at 18, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I've always felt like Roman Reigns thing will never happen again. So I
No,
mean, and it's
no.
who knows how long it's going to go on for. But yeah, I agree. I agree.
Oh man, so SmackDown was a stacked show,
Mhm.
and one of the things that I wanted to talk about from SmackDown was the two guys from NXT, and we talked about this last week going into SmackDown, that we didn't want to see Baron Corbin or Mustafa Ali get the Johnny Gargano treatment in
Mhm.
on the when they're on the main roster, where they treat, like, because Johnny Gargano was feuding with Grayson Waller heading into Stand and Deliver, and he
Mhm.
was on the main roster on Monday Night Raw in tag team matches against The Miz, and you wouldn't have even known that he was in a feud with Grayson Waller when he was, losing matches on Monday Night Raw. So we were worried that that was going to be the same thing. Just last week, we talked about this with
Mhm.
Baron Corbin and Mustafa Ali, and they're both in. They both are killing it right now in NXT. They're both winning matches.
Mhm.
Mustafa Ali pinned Joe Gacy in like 5 minutes last
Mhm.
week, and Baron Corbin struggled against Trick Williams, but still got the win. Now he's the number one contender for Carmelo Hayes' title, and Baron Corbin's killing it in NXT. They're both doing really well. Then they go to SmackDown and they lose. They lose. Baron Corbin loses to um, Pete Dunne or Butch, and
Mhm.
then Mustafa Ali, he loses to Santos Escobar in Money in the Bank qualifying matches as well. Now, the one thing I did like was they incorporated Carmelo Hayes and brought him over to SmackDown with Trick Williams, and they had that barricade that was dividing them. It's like this invisible force field between
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
barricade and the
Yep.
ring, where Carmelo Hayes, he couldn't cross the barricade,
Mm-mm.
but he can just yell at him and throw stuff at them, and then afterwards they can attack them, but not during the match. Because there's that the force field. The force field comes down when the bell rings. But it was. I like that they did that. I like that they incorporated that. But the Mustafa Ali losing to Escobar the way that he did, it just. I don't know. I feel like it killed his momentum, and but he's the one that's getting the Johnny Gargano treatment. I mean, in NXT this week, they didn't even mention that he lost the Money in the Bank qualifying match. They just glossed right over it, and now he's going after the Wes Lee. He's eventually going to clash with Wes Lee and feud for the North American Championship. So. Yeah, I was just really confused at how they did it. I still think they made Baron Corbin look like a chump too, because in the backstage in his interview, he got sucker punched by Cameron Grimes, and he just got knocked down, and then that's the end of the segment. And so, as hot as these guys are in NXT, I really what was the point of bringing both of them back over to SmackDown just to have them lose? I get that they're free agents, but I think the draft is a moot point at this time. It's kind of just irrelevant now. It doesn't matter what brand they're on. But it's just, I don't see the point. Why have them on NXT crushing it just to have them come over to the main roster and lose? It makes no sense in my opinion.
I agree. And Mustafa Ali just lost clean, like a normal match. No,
no interference.
It was a great match. It was a great match. The match was a match, but he just lost. It was just that. And then Baron Corbin lost in like a minute or two. And it wasn't even, Carmelo Hayes didn't even interfere. Why have him there if he isn't going to help win? And then he was like, oh, I lost because of it. And then he got punched by Cameron Grimes. So he lost in 10 seconds, got punched by Cameron Grimes. And then he went on NXT, which we'll talk about, and then had a dominant night. And it was nothing. He was just a BA again.
Yeah,
it was stupid. At least Mustafa Ali lost his momentum, and now he's a referee. He's not even a wrestler anymore. So at least he's at least demoted from it. But I was very confused by it all.
You could have put both of those guys in the Money in the Bank, and you could have had them touting how they're gonna win Money in the Bank, and maybe for the first time ever, you cash in Money in the Bank on one of the NXT titles or something. I mean, you could have incorporated that Baron Corbin could cash in. He might lose to Carmelo in 2 weeks, but he could cash in on Carmelo anytime when he's not looking. Or same thing with Mustafa Ali. But no, you just have them look like chumps when they're on the main roster and kill it on NXT. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. But there was something that made sense on SmackDown, something that I liked. People probably don't think I'm going to talk about it, but I want to talk about my girl Bayley, the leader of Damage Control. She had a match against Mitchin. I think that's now her official name, right? They don't even call it her. It's just Mitchin now because she's Mitchin. And AJ Styles was there in support of his random homie in the OC. And Bayley got a win. She won and is qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, as is Io Sky. So they are both in it, which I'm super happy for, because Damage Control has been finally getting used correctly so they can break up. Because obviously they're going to cost each other the Money in the Bank, and then that's it, especially with Dakota out injured. But I wanted to just say how cool it was to see Bayley get a win. She's gotten literally zero respect since she came back. She had one of the biggest SmackDown women title runs ever. You know what I mean? I know it was kind of COVID time and during COVID time too, right? Was it all COVID? It was all COVID, right? Either way.
The Thunderdome, yeah.
Yeah, either way. I mean, it was one of the best reigns. She was phenomenal. That's when she found herself, the ding dong. She was just at her all time, and then she got hurt and came back and was in Damage Control, and you were like, here it is. And then they just wasted her. She's been the biggest joke in Damage Control. She loses to everybody. Even though she's still cutting the best promos, the fans started turning on her. They weren't even so it was nice to see her. I was like, there's no way she's gonna win. AJ Styles is out here with Mitch, and why would she? We found out why AJ Styles was there, because Scarlett's sexy ass came out and blew red cocaine in his face. I don't know what it was, but either way, and then she decided to throttle her husband and get on top of him after he choked him out. The weird segment. I don't know why we're going back. Didn't he just lose completely clean, embarrassingly, on a SmackDown, and now he's getting a rematch with AJ Styles? I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, the booking.
Why was he not in the Money in the Bank? But yeah. But anyway, I did think it was cool to see Bayley win. It's about damn time she got a win. Go Bayley. That was my positive from SmackDown. I like seeing my girl get it. She deserves it.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool moment. I'm glad to see it. The only thing I didn't like was it felt like this match was just played second fiddle to the AJ Styles, Karrion Kross,
Mm-hmm.
little miniature feud that took place. I mean, a lot of the attention, even during the match, was why is AJ Styles out here? What is he doing? AJ, how do you feel about what happened in your match against Karrion Kross? I mean, talk about telegraphing it. I mean, they completely commentary was talking to him all about it, and the attack with Karrion Kross, and it felt like the match wasn't even as important in the broadcast as it probably should have been, because it was a big win for Bayley. She's got some momentum going into Money in the Bank, so I'm happy for her, and I think she curious to see if this is the end of Damage Control. Does she come down with the briefcase? Does she cost Io Sky? Does Io Sky cost her? I'm curious to see which way they do this and how they go about doing it. So kudos to Bayley. I just wish that the moment would have been a little bit bigger and not focus so much on Karrion Kross and AJ Styles.
Yeah. I mean, it's her first win in a year, right? Since she returned at SummerSlam.
Something.
I don't think she's ever won.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see her get a W. So
well, I think she got a pin on Bianca, but it was a tag team match.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. To earn her. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You're
and
right.
then she lost the title match or something. But yeah, that was like a year ago though, I think. So we're getting close to it. And then let's talk the elephant in the room, the money, or not the Money in the Bank, but the main event. Main event, Jey Uso. He is back, ladies and gentlemen, and he was the talk of the entire episode. The entire episode of SmackDown, they're all dedicated to the Bloodline. They start with the Bloodline, they end with the Bloodline, and they brought the. I like that they had Paul Heyman come out and basically talk about that Jey Uso was going to be, that Roman Reigns wants to groom Jey Uso to be the next tribal chief, and that Jey Uso has a big decision to make, and Jimmy made his decision, and Jimmy's out. So which way is Jey Uso going to go? Is he going to side with his brother Solo? Is he going to side with the Wise Man and the tribal chief and become the next head of the table and the next tribal chief himself and be groomed by the GOAT that is Roman Reigns? And then they talked about it all night. They played it up all night, and then they cut to a segment backstage where before he does that, Jey Uso grabs the mic and says, "I'll get back to you on that."
Yeah.
Setting up a cliffhanger for the night, and Paul Heyman even says in a backstage segment, "Hey, that was a great cliffhanger. That makes for great television. I really like what you did there. That was really cool." And then Jey Uso drops a line that says, if I don't know what you're smiling about, because if I'm in the bloodline, that means you're out of the bloodline. And Paul Heyman's smile quickly turned to a frown or a state of a shocked face, a shocked look, like, oh, whoa. And then the match, Austin Theory, the U.S. champion, takes on main event Jey Uso for the United States title. And if Jey Uso can bring home gold back to the bloodline, then he'll be groomed and he'll be the next tribal chief. And I thought they had a damn good match. I thought this was a solid match. It was a fun match, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, like Jey Uso's going to win this thing. He's going to win it. And Austin Theory pulled out the victory because Jimmy Uso came out to help his brother, because Pretty Deadly joined the fray for some reason and attacked Jey Uso.
They're like in a crew with Austin Theory now, I think.
Yeah, which Michael Cole mentioned that, but I was like, what are I guess because he's been beefing with Sheamus and they've been beefing with the Brawling Brutes or something, but they were like, these are Austin Theory's running mates. I was like, they are? But they came out and they attacked Jey Uso while the referee was down. Another referee bump, of course, happens in every bloodline match, but they come out and attack Jey Uso, and then Jimmy Uso comes out and makes the save, and he beats up Pretty Deadly, and then Solo Sikoa comes out and starts, he's about to Samoan spike his brother Jimmy when Jey stops him. And then Jimmy goes to super kick Solo. Solo gets out of the way, and he inadvertently hits his brother Jey, allowing Austin Theory to sneak back in there and get the pinfall, close out SmackDown. Jimmy Uso looks really disappointed in what he did. He looks distraught. Jey Uso shoves Jimmy and pushes him away and just tells him to get off of him, and then he walks away. And then it ends with Paul Heyman looking at his phone saying, "Call Roman Reigns." So that's the segment in a nutshell. Makes me wonder what's going to happen, but I've been saying this that for a long time, and you have too, that Jey Uso should be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns, and I think that they should play up the whole tribal chief. That Jey Uso beats Roman Reigns and he takes on the head of the table moniker. He becomes the tribal chief, and then we kind of see the dynamic of the bloodline with Roman Reigns without a title. Now Jey Uso's the one that's in charge. What's the dynamic there? So I'm curious to see where this goes. And just when I think that the bloodline story is running a little bit stale, they suck me back in with really good storytelling. I thought this was definitely the highlight of the night. I'm curious to see what they do, what happens with Jimmy, what happens with Solo. Is this going to lead to a tag match at SummerSlam? Is this going to lead to anything at Money in the Bank? Are we not going to have the bloodline at Money in the Bank? Because it feels like they should have advertised something by now, but they haven't. Is there going to be a title match? Is there going to be, a tag team match with Roman and Solo versus Jimmy and Jay? So I'm curious to see where we go. But yeah, this was top notch. If you're not going to have Roman on the show, this is the kind of stuff that they need to do. Not 6-man tags with Solo and Jimmy and Jay versus the Riddle, KO, and Sammy. No offense to those guys. They're wonderful. But this is how you tell the story without Roman Reigns being there. And I thought they did a great job of that.
For one, I'm happy that they brought Jay back in the spotlight, because when Jimmy turned, I was like, uh-oh, now we're on Jimmy and Jay's not. So I was super excited to see Jay now, the main attraction, how it should be. We're back on track. I think this 100% proved that Jay's the one that's going to do it. It's not going to be Cody. It's not going to be anyone else. Roman's not going to lose anytime soon. He might lose at WrestleMania 40, but maybe. Either way, he's not going to lose until Jay's ready to be that guy to dethrone him. Started with Jay, ends with Jay. That's how it has to be. That's how it needs to be. I did think it was funny, though. There was a part where when he was call Roman at the end, and he did it, but the camera cut off while he did it. So then the camera came back to him, and he was like, he was like, did you get? Oh, try it again. So I did think that was kind of funny. I was like, oh my god. Also, and but that's also just say call. You have to say something first. I don't want to say it because everything will go off. But you don't just talk in your iPhone.
Your phone's gonna call Roman Reigns.
I do have his number. I don't want you guys to know that. But I liked all of this, and it is back, and the match felt special. It had a big fight feel to it, how it should. Theory felt like a star. Jay, and a part of me actually thought, oh my god, Theory's gonna lose to Jey Uso. I was like, this is it. And they had me hook sinker, and I didn't think Jimmy was going to kick him in the face and cost him the match. I didn't really see any of it coming. So I enjoyed it. I liked it. Jay didn't need that U.S. title right now. I just like the fact that he went for it. I like that the Solo winner. I like it all. This is what we can do now. Let's lead Jay. We don't need Roman, although he's back on Friday again, right? But tomorrow or 2 days from now. But either way, it felt good, felt real. I'm digging it. Great way to close out the show, and the bloodline is back. That's why I'm rocking the gear today. It was good stuff. I agree with you. Let's go. Jay for champ. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm all for it. We've been saying it since day one-ish that Jey Uso should be the one to dethrone Roman over Cody, over Sammy, over KO, over Montez Ford, all over LA Knight, whoever. It should be Jay. It started with him. It ends with him. I just don't want the bloodline story to end. I still feel like there's so many different avenues that they can go. And if Jay wins, and he does become the tribal chief, then what happens to Roman? Does he leave, or does he have to fall in line under Jay? I just want to, I want to see it. I never want to see it end. I think it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I agree. It's fantastic stuff. Maybe Jay wins the Rumble. Maybe they'll have him pushed by January and he wins the Rumble, and that'll start it all, and he can challenge Roman at Mania. All right, man. Good SmackDown goes into Raw. Raw was good as well. We had all sorts of. We go from talking about Bloodline to talking about Judgment Day, and I want to talk about the fallen soldier in Judgment Day, the one who got left behind on Raw, the one who got not Raw, who got left behind on WrestleMania, who got left behind at all kind of the big events until they went to Puerto Rico and then they advertised them, and that's Damian Priest. He's kind of been the Bailey of Judgment Day, not winning anything, not getting any push. We got Dom and Rhea. We got Finn Balor having big matches against Edge and title matches. And Damian Priest, maybe the rumors are true that he is being seen as a positive now, and he's getting that push that he so much deserves, because he wrestled in a qualifying match and won, and he got the W. He is in the Money in the Bank. It was a great win, well-deserved. And we were talking about this beforehand that, you think LA Knight's the favorite. You think he's the one that's going to go on. And I actually think it'd be pretty cool to see Judgment Day with the briefcase and him walking around with it. I think Damian Priest with that and I think LA Knight, I get that he's like, the fans love him and he's older and he's been around, so maybe he is ready to be a champion, as skilled. But storyline wise and him in WWE, I don't think he is. I don't think he's been built up at all. And I think it's going to be like an Austin Theory thing where he's going to win that briefcase and no one's going to believe that he's going to cash it in on anybody. Damian Priest winning that briefcase, bro, I think people will think, okay, like, why can't he cash it in on Seth Rollins and win? Like, that seems believable. He's big, he's bad, he's been around. He was a great U.S. champion forever. Not U.S. champion forever. He take over
also to Finn Balor.
And lost. Oh, that's right. So I think it'll be awesome. And if they're going to kick Finn out and bring in JD, that's a great way to do it too. So I'm all for Damian Priest. Yeah, let's hear it.
Or we could do some fantasy booking. Damian Priest. I don't want this to happen, but Damian Priest wins Money in the Bank and cashes in on Finn Balor. And that's what sets up a Judgment Day exit for one, either Damian Priest or Finn Balor. It could be that Damian Priest betrayed the Judgment Day and cashes in on his fallen brother, or his brother who just won the World Heavyweight Championship.
Wow.
Or it could be that he cashes in on Finn Balor because they're kicking Finn Balor out. So
I think he should do like a Seth Rollins where there is no winner yet. He comes in like in the middle of the match when they're both like laid out, and he pins Finn Balor. Wins the belt, doesn't take anything away from Seth.
I would love that.
Damian is the champion. Oh my God. I'm all for that. I like it. Well, now it's going to happen. So, because we just, put it into the universe.
Other people will steal it from us and take credit for it. Yeah.
100%. Oh, well, let's not get into that. But 100%. Yes.
But I think that, if that's the way that they're going, and I don't want Judgment Day to break up, to be clear. I don't want there to be, I don't think, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'm okay adding people, like maybe one more person, maybe two.
And Finn leaving if he needs to. I guess, although I love Finn in it, but.
But I don't want it to be like an all out, Rhea Ripley turns and they all go their separate ways. I think she needs Dom Dom, and I think Dom Dom needs her. I think they all kind of feed off of each other. So I don't want to see it happen. But if that's the way that they're going to do it, why not have Damian Priest cash in? And that's what sets it up.
I agree.
I'd be down with that.
I agree.
All right. Now let's go to back to the negativity. I feel like I'm the negative guy tonight, and you're the positive one. But
you're grumpy at night.
Yeah, I know. It's because it's almost my bedtime. But I want to talk about these bozos in Wichita, Kansas. And we had an amazing, or what could have been an amazing segment between Finn Balor, speaking of, and Seth freaking Rollins, as we're having a World Heavyweight Championship match made official at Money in the Bank. And we could have had a great promo between the two. But the segment was awful. And it had nothing to do with the people in the ring. Had nothing to do with Finn Balor. Had nothing to do with Seth Rollins. Had nothing to do with the creative team. Had nothing to do with Triple H. Had nothing to do with Vince. Although apparently he changed stuff at the last minute again.
Oh, he did? I didn't read. Okay.
Apparently. But had nothing to do with any of that. It had to do with the crowd. Because they're too busy not shutting up and listening to the freaking segment. They're too busy singing Seth Rollins' theme song. And, I'm all for crowd interaction. I'm all for chanting "You suck." I'm all for, singing the Seth Rollins song and, moving your hands and doing all of that. I'm all for the occasional "what" chant, even though I think that's played out and stupid.
I hate it.
Yeah, I'm all for just, when every time Dom Dom holds up the microphone, he gets peppered with booze. I'm okay with that. Because that's heat and the crowd. But what I'm not okay with is it feels like there's a time and a place, and I'm not okay with crowds taking over the show. Now, they didn't even take over the whole show. That's the thing. Like, this crowd was dead for much of the night until Seth Rollins came out, and they decided to hijack that one freaking segment. And I don't understand why. Seth Rollins is not from Wichita, Kansas. He's from Davenport, Iowa. And last I checked, I guess they're both in the central time zone, but like they're far away from each other. You got to fly there from Iowa, so it's not like he's from there or anything. But it just made, I don't know. It killed the segment for me. I don't know anything that Finn Balor said because the crowd wouldn't shut up.
Mhm.
Seth Rollins, I'm sure he could have had some. He might have had some zingers, but again, we don't know because the crowd would. I couldn't understand what they were all saying because the crowd wouldn't shut up, and I was just.
Mhm.
It was really annoying. It just felt like they were there to take that over. And the thing is I think there's a time and a place. Like I said before, I think this was not that time or the place. This was, when Roman Reigns got that heat after beating the Undertaker, and he came
Mhm.
out and he couldn't even get a word in.
Mhm.
That's one thing because the crowd was, he was getting heat that night, and he said like, "This is my yard now." With Sami Zayn, couldn't even get a word in because the crowd was chanting him so loud in Montreal that he only said like a few words in his promo. This was different because this crowd was trying to take that segment over. They were trying to hijack
Mhm.
it. And I think this was supposed to be one of those serious promos where
Mhm.
they talk about some stuff and they bring in reality. They blur the lines a little bit. They talk about some animosity that Finn Balor has towards Seth Rollins because they wrestled 7 years ago at SummerSlam and he got injured and he's the first Universal Champion and Seth Rollins is what cost him everything. And I think this was supposed to be one of those Seth Rollins, Matt Riddle promos. This was supposed to be one of those
Mhm.
Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes promos where they kind of blur the lines a little bit and say, "Oh, is he supposed to say that? Or do they really not like each other? Do they?" But we'll never freaking know because that crowd would not shut up singing Seth Rollins' song. And to be honest with you, I love Seth Rollins and I
Mhm.
like his song and I like doing this, but I don't like doing it anymore. I'm not going to do it. And because of that crowd, I think now I feel like, and my fear is that this is going to become a norm and it's going to become
Mhm.
a norm every time the heel tries to say anything against Seth Rollins because they're just going to try to take it over.
I agree, and they didn't try to hijack it. They hijacked this
Yeah.
entire segment. This segment was hijacked, and it was awful because of it. It stunk. It was. I just literally drove me nuts. And we were talking about this beforehand because I was like, okay, what was? I think you were right. I think that crowd just ruined it, and they just went. They just canceled it out. They just decided just to move on and try to get some things out as quickly as they can and moved on with their lives. I literally think it was game over. I think, yeah, because like Finn was trying to say some things and you just couldn't hear him and you could tell he was getting flustered. Seth then had to like play the good guy. So we started to like enjoy it. He was like, "Oh, thank you. Keep going my music. They can't hear you because your music," which I thought was stupid because I'm like, it's getting hijacked. But I guess if it's already done,
Yeah.
why go
Play
back
into
to
it.
where it
Yeah.
was? Yeah, but it was
Because
awful.
it's got to be
And
hard for him too, because he's the baby face. He can't be like, "Shut up," try
yeah,
to,
yeah,
tell him to stop because he's, then
yeah.
he would get the heel heat. So
Yeah, and he tried at first because he was like not doing anything, and then once it was like it was awful. It was all like you said. There's a difference between paying into the crowd and like taking over, hijacking. Like AEW fans try to hijack all the time too with their
yeah,
stupid chants of what their thing is called. Like I don't know, this is awesome and holy and whatever they do. With their what's their thing called? Fight forever. Yeah, fight
yeah, fight
forever. And I
forever.
know people
Yeah,
are always like, oh no, it's good because they're like, no, they try to hijack it because they just chant sometimes the entire match, and it's like just let these guys like wrestle. You don't have to like take over. I don't like. I'm trying to think of another time they hijacked it. I don't know if it was when they're chanting CM Punk the entire time, and it was like a Triple H segment once, and it was like, dude, like you guys, like you said,
yeah.
you sit on your hands the
The what
entire
chant
night.
too, where
The
they,
what
yeah,
the what chants are the worst things ever. I went on a rant on our old podcast with that. I'm not going to do it
yeah,
again, but it's like. It's just so I was texting you during that segment going like this is atrocious. Like this stupid crowd is literally like ruining because now we don't even do people even know Finn's fighting for the title next? Do we even know he's fighting at Money in
yeah,
the Bank? Because if you would have not have known and watched that segment, you have no idea what the heck's going on. It was
yeah.
awful. I felt bad for Finn. I felt bad for Seth. And my fear always is that once it happens,
It's gonna
now
keep
is that going to
happening.
be so now every time they come out, is that going to be a thing? So I don't know.
Yeah,
It was bad. I mean, WWE can pipe in noise. You can't pipe it out. Like I don't know. It was pretty
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, it was. It was. I felt bad for the performers, and
Mhm.
again, I don't understand. Like, what was it about this one segment where they had to do that? Because they didn't do it for Cody Rhodes. When
Nope.
I mean, they did the whoa, but they
Mhm.
didn't do anything else. They. I mean, they didn't really. Dom got heat, but not as much as he's been getting the last couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
I don't understand why it was this one segment that they decided to hijack. Is that the new thing
Yeah.
too? They're gonna pick and choose what segments they're gonna hijack, and they're just gonna do it, and we just got
I
to live with it. I don't know, but
I don't
this was
know.
bad. This was
It
bad, and
it
had nothing to
was.
do with the guys in the ring. They did the best that they could, and I felt bad for them.
I agree. I agree. Something I didn't feel bad for though was my other Judgment Day guy, Dom himself, Dominic Mysterio. He didn't really have much to do this week, but he had a lot of big things happen. And you said he didn't get booed that much. Well, he didn't really have much going on, but he did because Rhea Ripley got her new championship. She's now the female women's. What is she? What is she? She's the
The She's the women's world champion because
okay.
the world heavyweight champions on Raw, even though it's being defended on NXT, and
Yes.
the women's world champion because they got to keep
Mhm.
them the same.
I like how they just like randomly did that too, like a month later. Like, oh, it's just
Yeah,
you're this now. But either way, we'll get into the belts later. But Rhea Ripley gets her belt, and she acts like it's like her precious, like she's the Lord. She like Gollum'd it, was like all like, and then she like got it, and all of it. The crowd is roaring. They love Rhea. They love Mommy. Mommy is getting cheered out the wazoo. All of a sudden, that crowd stopped cheering and it was instant boos because Dom is running to the ring from the backstage, grabs the belt out of her hand and is like cheering like every woman wishes their man would do. He is probably the most perfect loving person in the history of the world for a partner, and he puts that belt around her and the crowd is booing like crazy, but it's an awesome moment. I loved it. It's hilarious. You got to check it out. But Dominic, and out comes Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes talks about how he was bitch slapped and talks about all this other stuff and yada, yada, yada. And basically, Dominic is like, let's do it at Money in the Bank. And they ended it off or run off or whatever. And later on, Cody Rhodes accepts. He is going to wrestle Dominic Mysterio. He'd rather wrestle Brock Lesnar, but he's going to wrestle Dominic Mysterio at Money in the Bank. If you don't think Dominic Mysterio is over, if you think that heat is go away heat, if you think that heat is not real, this dude is wrestling Cody, the guy who just had a story with Roman at WrestleMania, main evented, then went right into a segment with Brock Lesnar, and now it's Dominic. So you got to think he went Seth, Roman, Brock, Dom. So if you don't
yeah.
think Dom is over, do the math. And we talked about this. I'm going Brock Lesnar interference. Dom wins and has another notch on his resume of people he has beaten, which is building every. I don't unlike the other person Bailey who hasn't won all her life. I don't remember the last time Dominic lost. To be honest, he's the only consistent other than Rhea in
Hmm.
Judgment Day other than tag team matches. But when has he lost in a solo match recently, in a singles match? But
WrestleMania probably was the last time.
against,
Yeah,
yeah, and he still won
against
by best entrance. But yeah,
yeah, because his dad his
well, he
dad took
cheated.
the strap, and yeah,
Yeah, he
it should have been a
DQ'd like four
disqualification.
times. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we'll
and
get
then
into
there was
that again.
interference from Bad Bunny. Yeah,
Yes, that's what I was. All sorts of hot mess. But either way, Dom is over. Dom is wrestling Cody freaking Rhodes at Money in the Bank. Holla at your boy. What did you think? You loving Dom and Rhea and big Money in the
oh
Bank night?
yeah, it's all fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for Dom because I think he is every week he is proving the critics wrong. He's silencing the doubters, the ones that said he should go back to NXT.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to work on his promos and he needs to
Mm-hmm.
work in developmental. Like
Mm-hmm.
all those people are slowly starting to jump on the Dom bandwagon and
Oh,
say that he's the best heel in the business. I'm like, what
yep.
have we been saying for 27 of these 51 episodes we've been on? That
Uh-huh.
he's the best heel. He's the best heel in wrestling at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That he's a heat magnet through and through. Him and Don Callis. For whatever reason, the crowd hates Don Callis too.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even a wrestler. Dom gets natural heat. Everybody hates him, but I think everybody loves him at the same time. I think it's
Yep.
just like the cool thing to do is to hate the guy. Um, but yeah, I'm loving what they're doing. I'm happy for him that he's going against Cody Rhodes. I think that's a huge step up for him, considering that he didn't get to wrestle at Backlash and he didn't get to have a match at Night of Champions.
Mhm.
He's going from wrestling his father at WrestleMania to Cody freaking Rhodes, who main evented WrestleMania. So I think this is a huge step up for him. Imagine what a victory could do for him over Cody, especially if Brock does interfere. He gets that rub from Brock and the rub from Cody.
Mhm.
I think it sets up for the future. To be honest with you, I think it's leading to some big things for Dom Dom in the future. And
Mhm.
I'm excited for it. And Cody's the perfect opponent for him because whether we like him or not, he's the most over babyface in the company, probably next to Seth Rollins. But he's pretty over as the top babyface in the WWE, and he's going up against the top heel, which is exactly what you want. You want the best bad guy, which is always what CM Punk said.
Mhm.
You want the best bad guy against the best good guy at one of your biggest shows. And Money in the Bank is going to be in London, so they're going to bring out all the stops. And I think this is a huge moment for Dominic, and I hope he gets a really cool entrance at Money in the Bank.
No, I hope so. I agree with you. Dom, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, and speaking of Dom too, and we probably won't talk about this with NXT, but he also tweeted to something pretty funny that he wrote, "Only the strong survive," and he put that to Tony D'Angelo, who's currently in a prison segment
I
on.
did not see that.
Yeah, he's currently in that prison segment for whatever reason on NXT with Scripps and all those people.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
he is, where I guess for throwing Pretty Deadly off the bridge or whatever, they're in jail for that or something along
Is
those
that
lines.
what it is?
I
They
don't know.
said why?
Yeah,
All I know is they're trying to find out who told on him. I haven't.
yeah, I don't know. But Dom tweeted at him and said, "Only the strong survive." And, I mean, he's getting better and better. He's getting. I mean, that's top level stuff right there.
That's
I'm just
awesome.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it all.
That is awesome. I'm glad you said that.
But yeah, let's more positivity. I want to talk about the most probably the one of the funniest guys on Monday Night Raw, and that's Kevin Owens. He just keeps getting funnier and funnier. His tantrums and his him exploding and kind of losing his temper so quickly is starting to become the highlight of the highlight of Monday Night Raw for me. It's just like, okay, what's going to set him off this week? He's always going after people. I like that he's breaking down the fourth wall and he's talking about, well, you broke the rule. You broke the rule. You can't do that. You're breaking the rule. Kevin and Sami Zayn is the level-headed one that's trying to talk him down. This week he was trying to offer him water. He's like, just calm down, just drink some water. You got to stay hydrated. And Kevin Owens is like, I don't want any water. I'll drink. Okay, fine, I'll drink some. And it was just funny stuff. I'm digging it. Kevin Owens has this knack, and we've talked about this before, but he has this knack to turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
Oh yeah.
He did it with Ezekiel. I mean, the Ezekiel angle was probably one of the highlights of Monday Night Raw, especially and then they brought out Elias, and Kevin Owens was like, "Am I the only one that sees this?" That everyone was in on it, and I mean, he takes some things that shouldn't be as good as they are and makes them fantastic. And I think it's an underrated trait that he has. Sami Zayn can do it too, but he's not quite at the level of Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens can take anything and turn it into gold. And he's doing it week in and week out. And, him and Sammy got the main event Monday Night Raw. They put their tag team titles on the line against Imperium or against Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther because Baldy was nowhere to be found until until he
heard him,
until he showed up and he's like, oh, there's Baldy. So just more funny stuff week in and week out. But the main event of Raw was it was a solid event. It was a solid match. The outcome was a little predictable. I didn't think, as much as I like Gunther, I didn't think that him and Ludwig Kaiser were also going to win the tag belts. I'm curious to see where this goes. Does this lead to more Imperium versus KO and Sammy? How many times can the Imperium group actually lose? I know Kevin Owens actually lost to Gunther last week on Monday Night Raw, so I guess he had to get the win this week to return the favor. But is this the end of KO and Sammy versus Imperium? Are they going to go on to other things? Is this just the beginning of it? I'm curious to hear, see what happens next. But Kevin Owens and Sammy are popular. They're fantastic. They're turning bad things into gold, and they're they're doing it the right way because they're not doing too much. It's just, every week it's like one little thing that sets Kevin Owens off, and then it's his temper and he's getting mad. He's not doing it the whole show like Cody Rhodes, where he has to be in 15 different segments throughout the night. So I'm loving what they're doing, and I hope they keep it up.
I agree. They're a treasure, both of them. They're both they're how I say Rhea and Dom Dom are the best couple ever in wrestling history. They're the best duo in wrestling history. I'm going to say it. These two are hilarious. The water thing was funny. Everything about it. I mean, KO is going a little overboard. He's overacting a little bit with everything with his tantrums, but they're hilarious. They're fun. They're good. They're funny. I'm loving it. I hope they just go back to tag. They're pushing the tag team, although they had they're having the 4-way match or whatever, right? And they were 5-way. Was it 5-team? But they were like, every tag team on SmackDown is going to be wrestling.
Oh yeah, the gauntlet.
Yeah. And I was like, that's 5. There's only 5. Okay, cool. But I think they need to do what they're possibly going to be doing with the NXT women's titles and the women's titles that looks like they're going to combine them. So I think they need to do the same thing with KO and them, that they need to give them they're the last ones without a belt, it looks like. So they need to get rid of those belts pronto. They were the ones that should have been gotten rid of. But
first,
yes, those belts are hideous. But give them new belts and let them bounce back and forth. Let's have one tag team champion, have them bounce back and forth on both brands. I'm all for it. Let's get this tag team division back. So, and KO and Sammy are the people to do it.
Yeah, I forgot about that SmackDown Gauntlet thing that they announced. But I think it's going to be the Brawling Brutes and the Street Profits,
Pretty Deadly,
and there's 2 other teams in there.
It's every tag team. Yeah, every tag team.
Yeah.
So they literally said that. All the tag teams on SmackDown. I was like, dude, you can't say that when there's only 5. Yeah. You got to look like this division is more than just KO and Sammy wrestling 5 guys. But that's why you need them to go back and forth. Because if there's 5 there and 5 on the other on Raw, then at least you have 10 teams to kind of divide through and whoever else gets created. But yeah.
Hopefully they get new titles soon, and they deserve them, and they should make a big to do about it when they get it. And maybe that's how Kevin Owens loses his temper next week or something. I don't know, something.
Yeah. These belts are stupid. I'm sick of carrying 2 belts.
Yeah. Or he hates the look of the new title or something. Yeah, because he's the everyman. He's the every fan, right? He's like, that's the belt. That's what we have now. We have to carry this around. Yeah, I would love it. Just
this is Roman's belt, but it says tag team.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought we were done with the bloodline. Oh, man, that would be perfect. Yeah.
They should just give them the old one, crack it like they did the Winged Eagle when it became the hardcore belt. They're like, here's your new tag team belts. It's just the blue and red from Roman's reign. They're like, these are the old, okay.
We beat him at WrestleMania, and now,
yeah.
And we beat them again on SmackDown, and we beat them at Night of Champions. Now we have to carry their belts around. Oh man!
Now we got to carry their belts around. That's funny.
They should do that.
I think so.
I know they're listening. So Damian Priest is winning Money in the Bank. He's going to cash in on Finn Balor, and now we're going to have Kevin Owens lose his temper because he doesn't like the new belts.
It's happening. You'll see. Let's. We got to start stamping these. And speaking of, let's go to NXT. Man, NXT was solid again. I like NXT. They've been kicking it hard. HBK announced that we're going to have a couple Gold Rush matches coming up, and I want to talk about Mr. Baron Corbin. We talked about him getting embarrassed. Then he came right back out, and they didn't talk about that either. And he was main evented against Dragunov, and he won. And now he is the number 1 contender for the title against Carmelo Hayes in a Gold Rush match in 2 weeks. So it'll be him and Carmelo. I think Baron's winning. I'm gonna say it. I think Carmelo being on SmackDown was a hint to get him kind of being seen by the public. I think he's ready. I think Chuck Williams is going to go with him possibly. I think he's going to lose his belt. Baron's going to take over and have the title for a while and push younger stars and lose it to somebody to give them that rub eventually after he has a long reign. I think it's time. I think it's perfect. He even took his shirt off this week. A true champion doesn't wrestle with a shirt on, Sami Zayn. So it's like, you know what I mean? So that's, I'm digging it. I'm all for it. I thought he looked good on NXT. Once again, I do hate the Gargano treatment where he looked like a chump literally got punched by, homeboy to the moon. And then he just nothing happened. He was just a beast again when he came on NXT. But I like seeing him win, close it off. And I think him and Carmelo is going to be a show still. They looked good in their interaction at the end. So,
yeah.
He's one of the best performers ever, and he's the safest. So people sleep on Baron Corbin for some reason.
He's got a dope finisher. The only thing they need to do is change his freaking music. Stop with that casino stuff when he was Happy Corbin or Lucky Corbin or Sad Corbin. Go back to I don't necessarily care about the lone wolf thing, but just do something to change his music. Make it. I don't get in like Roman when he comes out. It feels like a star is on his way out, and his entrance is long and dragged out, and Seth Rollins the same thing. Like I get amped when I hear that song, and I don't get amped when I hear Baron Corbin's music. I think of casinos and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's what I think of when I hear Baron Corbin's music. So I hope they change it to something a little bit better and a little bit more intimidating, especially for if he's going to win the NXT title.
Yeah, I agree. I hope he does. I hope so.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Braun Breaker, he made his presence felt in that main event that we were just talking about with Baron Corbin and Dragunov, and he's the one that cost Dragunov that match against Baron Corbin.
Yep.
So it makes me wonder: are Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker working together, or was that just a coincidence? Is this part of this takeover thing that they're trying to do? Because Baron Corbin's trying to take over NXT, and Braun Breaker's just trying to destroy anybody who gets in his way. So I don't know, but could be a cool little dynamic there, but probably nothing. But it did end with we got the segment that we've all been waiting for, that Seth freaking Rollins, as part of this gold rush. Shawn Michaels tweeted it for whatever reason. I feel like this should have been a moment for Shawn Michaels to come out or do a backstage interview or do something where he shows his face on. I mean, Triple H announced the draft, and we had a 15-minute entrance for that. And he announced that we're getting a new title, and he had a 20-minute entrance for that. He announced that WWE's not changing a damn thing on the Raw after WrestleMania, and he had a 15-minute entrance for that. So, but this Gold Rush thing, they have to tweet it. I mean, I'm like, he tweets it and
must have been a time constraint. I don't know what it was. Something, yeah,
and it was just it felt a little underwhelming. I think it could have been better announced, and but I am excited because part of that Gold Rush, we're going to see Seth frickin' Rollins putting his World Heavyweight Championship, the Raw World Heavyweight Championship that's exclusive to Raw. He's going to defend it on NXT next week against Braun Breaker. And so I do think this is a make or break moment for Braun. I think that I don't think he's going to win. I think Dragunov's going to return the favor and cost Braun Breaker the match against Seth Rollins. But I think this is going to be an opportunity for Braun to really showcase what he can do. This also might be his swan song in NXT and say, okay, after this, I'm going after Seth Rollins again. I want a rematch, and I'm going to go to Raw, and I'm going to get it. And we may never see him on NXT again. But I think he has to deliver in this match. I think he will, and I think it's going to be a good thing. I like heel Braun. He feels more special. He feels more important than he did as a babyface, and I like his I don't give a crap attitude. I think it's perfect, and I think this will do him, this gimmick that he has will do him better on the main roster than when he was the babyface. So I think both Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker are probably coming to the main roster before we know it.
Yeah, Braun Breaker just feels like a star now. That's what happens sometimes when you become a heel. I mean, that promo he cut was awesome on Seth, and then even Seth's interaction with him was awesome. He looked good on all black,
despite the crowd trying to take it over
again. Yeah, but it felt good. The match feels good. Obviously, Braun has no chance of winning. I think Dragunov will.
Oh yeah, he's going to
cost them somehow. I think that's why they did that right now. But that's good. Get Braun an excuse to lose. Seth gets another win. I agree with you with the belt being the Raw Championship, and he's the working man. Like now, is it not the Raw belt anymore? Now is it the working man belt?
Yeah, the workhorse title or whatever.
Yeah. I have no idea, but it is what it is. So what can you do? But I'm all for it. I think these next 2 weeks of NXT are going to be solid. So I'm excited. I am excited.
Yeah, and NXT sometimes drags on a little bit. I'm like, okay, let's get to can we skip to the good part? And now I think, like you said, it's going to be solid for the next couple of weeks. And it's been solid the last couple of weeks too. Since Baron Corbin came back, it's been solid. But there was a little bit of a lull post draft where I was like, oh man, this roster is skimpy now. And this is it's becoming a chore to watch this every week. But now it's picking back up.
Starting to feel good again. Correct. Correct. Well, that was a good week, man. It was a good week in wrestling. Good week for WWE. So yeah. And with that said, it's time for our segment today.
Yes,
And our
sir.
segment is something we haven't done in a while. Highs and lows. Highs and lows. I used to do it that way. That's right. And what this is, we're going to talk about something that we thought was good, a high, and something that we thought was a low in WWE this week. As always, it's a segment. So Shooting Star Press goes first. What was your high of the week?
We talked about this a little bit during our breakdown, but I'm going to reiterate it. I am very high right now
You
on
are?
Austin.
You can do that out there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Oh, hi, got it.
Yeah. I'm very high right now. That's it. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Yeah. But I mean, may partake in that later.
Yeah,
But
okay.
but yeah, no, and it's not legal here because we're in the Bible Belt. It's
Oh, that's
Delta 8's Delta 8's legal here, but THC is not.
I just completely ruined your segment. Continue.
It's all right. It's fine.
Continue.
No, I can rant all day about that. But,
Okay.
between that and crowds hijacking
Yeah.
stuff. But I am very high right now on Austin Theory. I think at first I was like, what are they doing with him? I mean, he's going from he's not on any pay-per-views. He's not wrestling very often on big shows. He doesn't really have a main program, but all that changed last Friday on SmackDown. I mean, while everything else remains true, that he hasn't really had a big feud since his John Cena match. We haven't seen him on pay-per-view since his John Cena match at Mania. I still think they're treating him like a big star. It's a huge thing. He's coming out. This main event on SmackDown was perfect. I mean, he looked like $1 million. He won over Jey Uso. He pinned a member of the Bloodline. So now he's beaten John Cena at WrestleMania. He's beaten Seth Rollins before. He's got wins over Bobby Lashley, and now he's pinned a member of the Bloodline, which not a lot of people can say that they've done that. And it's really only Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn rather, and Austin Theory that have pinned one of the Usos this year. And so I just think they're doing it all right. And I know that I think he does need a big feud. And I don't know who that big feud is on SmackDown. Maybe it is Bobby Lashley again. Maybe it's Edge. Maybe it's somebody. But I think he needs something to help keep his momentum going. But man, right now, I mean, he looked like $1 million on SmackDown, and I was very pleased with it because I've been kind of down on Austin Theory. I've been kind of like, he's not all that great. I didn't like when he cashed in on the Money in the Bank on the U.S. title and then lost it just to win it again 2 weeks later. That didn't make any sense to me. But him and Gunther are really elevating those mid-card titles. They're feeling important. They're making people want to go after them, making people want to potentially cash in Money in the Bank on them instead of the World Heavyweight Championship and instead of Roman Reigns. But yeah, Theory, man, he's getting better and better on the mic. His ever since he's dropped that selfie gimmick, he's killing it. And yeah, I'm here for Austin Theory right now.
I love it. I got famous on TikTok because of Austin Theory. When I first started over a year ago, now it's over a year. All I did was talk about Austin Theory. I compared him to John Cena. I don't know if you remember those days, and that's all I did. I've been an Austin Theory fan forever. I was one of the people who got so mad when he cashed in unsuccessfully, and I was ready to rip the world apart, and I had to eat my shoe because I was like, oh my God, he's buried, and he wasn't. And then I was like, well, let's see. But no, he's been done right. He's beaten Cena. I mean, this dude is doing it, and his mic skills are getting better. And like I said, that main event, he felt important. His beard is bad, but he felt important. He feels real. He's in good shape. He's learning his character. That stupid selfie character just wasn't him, and that's why it wasn't working. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's money. I'm all for you. I think he's a super high. So yeah, he's California high, my man. It's
there you go. Yeah, that Colorado high.
Yeah. My high. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
My high is the unification of the female tag titles. I'm all on board with it. I was wondering what the heck they were doing, not taking the belts off them. I was like, oh my gosh, now NXT is going to wrestle on this and that. But what is the one belt in all of wrestling that has lacked the most? The women's tag team belts. And I think unifying it just like I said about the tag team men, I think it needs to be the tag team women champions defend on all 3 brands. I think they can go wrestle on NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. They'll pass all around. It gets these people feeling more important. They can wrestle everybody. It gives them a lot more challengers. I'm all for it. I'm all for Shayna and Ronda winning this belt, unifying them, and moving on. I would love to see Ronda and Shayna beat up people on NXT, on Raw, and SmackDown every week. I'm here for it. I think that's my biggest high of the week, I think, in wrestling.
Yeah,
I loved it. I thought it was cool. I know the crowd is still like, oh, Ronda, blah, but I thought it felt good. And they look good. The NXT girls look good too. Alba Fire. They look good. It worked. So
yeah. And I think it's going to make for some interesting programming over the next couple of weeks with, like you said, are they going to go after everybody on NXT? Are they just going to focus on Monday Night Raw? Are they going to go on SmackDown? And because I do think they need to go on all 3 brands, just like KO and Sami are going on Raw and SmackDown because they have both the Raw and SmackDown tag team championships. I think, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey need to do the same thing and just destroy people and really make their presence known. And I'm all for it. I thought that's a good high. Unifying those titles, it makes sense now, but when they drafted them, I was like, what are they doing? Like, why are they keeping these NXT tag team titles on these girls? Why didn't they take them off? They dropped the women's title off of Tiffany Stratton when they drafted her up, and why are they doing this now? It makes sense, and they're unifying the titles, and I think that's going to elevate them to it. So I think it's a good thing.
I agree. All right, what's your low, my man?
Oh man, the crowd in Kansas City or Wichita, wherever they were. I'm gonna. There's not a lot of lows this week. All right. My low is which one do I want to do? Okay, I'm gonna do Charlotte Flair coming back. That's my low. I know we talked about it again, but like you said, she always has to be in the title picture. She always has to just compete for a belt. If she doesn't win, she leaves for a few months and she comes back and it's the same thing over and over. And I didn't like it when it makes me wonder if they only brought her back because Andrade's getting ready to come back on Collision this week. And they're like, oh, well, if he's going to be wrestling, let's bring back his fiance or his girl, his wife. And let's have her compete the week before, so people tune into our show instead of tuning into theirs. I don't know. I don't know if they're doing that. I don't know if that played into it at all, but it makes me wonder if they are paying attention to what AEW is doing, especially with them getting that new show the day after SmackDown. So I don't know, but Charlotte Flair coming back, she's not needed right now. I do feel like the women's division has kind of been struggling a little bit with some star power. Natalya versus Rhea Ripley was a dud at Night of Champions, but Zelina Vega's been getting a big push. Bayley's getting a big push right now. Io Sky's looked like $1 million. Io Sky and Dakota Kai had a fantastic match a few weeks ago, and I mean that's when Dakota Kai got hurt, but it was a great match. The Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville are looking really good in the tag division, and Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are doing their thing in the tag division that I don't think Charlotte Flair is really needed right now. Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark doing their thing. We don't need Charlotte Flair. It just feels like it's just we don't have anything for you, so let's put you in the title picture and let's have you wrestle Asuka and maybe beat Asuka. And now the feud's going to be Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair again for the title. That Bianca, when it should be Asuka, it should be Asuka and Bianca. I don't know. The booking of it didn't make any sense. I didn't like how Adam Pearce was telling Bianca, "Oh yeah, you gotta wait your turn and wait in line, and if you do all this, you'll get your rematch." And then he grants Charlotte Flair an immediate match for the title. It makes no sense. I don't get it. We don't need Charlotte Flair right now. It just feels like she has to be in the title picture.
Always. And we're running on time, but that's a great low for one. Fantastic, because it was awful. And secondly, I posted about it on TikTok, and all my comments were people defending Charlotte were like, well, when you're mainstream, when you're that big, when you're that person, that's how it works. Okay, look at Becky Lynch. I personally think Becky Lynch is a bigger star than Charlotte
Oh,
Flair in a
me
lot of
too.
ways.
Yeah.
And she ain't going for no title. When was the last time she even went for a title?
Yeah.
Because the title doesn't define her. Her talent and her skills define her. That's the difference. And that's what I keep talking about. Charlotte Flair needs a title. So that makes me think she doesn't truly have that skill and talent to hold a legacy. She needs a title. Prove me wrong, Charlotte Flair, because you got it. I think you got it. I don't think you need to do this. But that's what I'm saying. The difference is there.
Yeah.
I
I
hate
don't
it. And
remember her. I don't remember Charlotte having a non-title feud.
no,
I
she
think
never does. She brags
every
about
feud,
it.
yeah, every feud she has is for the title. It's
Hmm.
Becky Lynch is feuding with Trish Stratus right now for no belt,
Hmm.
and um, you've had Rhea Ripley for a while did not have a title on until WrestleMania this year, and she was carrying Monday Night Raw and SmackDown week in and
Yeah.
week out, and Liv Morgan was doing her thing without a belt, and Ronda Rousey was doing her thing without
Hmm.
we don't need Charlotte Flair is just
Yeah.
she needs to go away.
I agree. And my low, I'm gonna keep it quick because I'm gonna end it right. I talked about titles. Let's keep it in titles.
Let's do it.
My low are the new women championship titles. It was like the WWE ran out of ideas, or maybe their belts are expensive, or maybe they're getting them like in a bundle pack, and so they're getting a bunch of little ones at the same price, so it's saving them cost efficient to create a new one. But I know when I saw Asuka's belt being the same, I was thinking that Rhea's was, but I was like, no, they're not going to do that. And oh boy, did they do it. All they did was make them smaller and white. So that makes sense. But like, yeah, so I don't know. I didn't like them. I thought it was big time disappointing. I like, why do that when you have a chance to like maybe have some coolness to the women's side? I mean, I know like the UFC does it, like every belt looks the same and it's just worn by that person, but wrestling hasn't done that. Belts are supposed to look different. I didn't like
Yeah.
it. I was bummed out. And the crowd didn't really like it either. They reacted positive to both of them, but just as because they like them, it had nothing to do with those belts. So
Yeah, that crowd has they have no right to say anything with
no,
how they
no,
hijack that segment. But
no.
and the one thing I didn't care for, the belts are what they are. I mean the last titles were the exact same too. I mean the SmackDown Women's Championship was blue and the
Yeah, you're right.
Universal
You're
title was
right. You're right.
blue, and
Yeah.
so I didn't have a problem with that. My problem was you had Triple H come out and talk about how Roman Reigns is the Michael
Oh.
Jordan of this generation and he's the GOAT and
Mm-hmm.
he's glad to present him with a new championship solely for Roman and it's the new
Mm-hmm.
undisputed title. You had Triple H come out and do the same thing for Seth Rollins and twice because he unveiled the title
Mm-hmm.
and then he put the belt on Seth Rollins when he
Mm-hmm.
won it. And he talked about what a great match Seth Rollins is and what an ambassador for the WWE he is. And then what did they do for the two women? It was the Monday
Adam
Night
Pearce.
Raw. Adam Pearce, not even no entrance for Adam Pearce. He's in
Uh-oh.
the ring already. He comes out and he's like, "Hey, Rhea Ripley, come on out. We got a new title for you." And then I'm glad Dom Dom came out and ended up putting it on her instead. And then the same thing happened on SmackDown with
Asuka,
Asuka,
yeah.
where he's like, "Hey, we have a new belt for you. So here it is. Good, yay." So
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's what made it feel like two secondary titles when I feel like they're trying to make them on the same level as the men's.
Mm-hmm.
You had the guy you had Adam Pearce for whatever reason come out and put them on their when you had Triple H, the C-level executive,
Mm-hmm.
the head of creative, come out and he had a long entrance. He did his speech. He gave
Mm-hmm.
a great speech about all the two champions, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Then he shat all over Roman Reigns for whatever reason too,
Mm-hmm.
saying that he's never here, he doesn't need acknowledgement, whatever. But he still showed up and gave those guys their flowers, and he couldn't do the same thing for the women. So that's what made it feel like secondary stuff for me, and that's the one thing that I took away from it that I did not like.
I'm all for that. Congrats for saying that and thinking of it, because major props, because I didn't even realize that or think of it, and that just shows how WWE has made it portrayed that I didn't even like flinch an eye at the sadness to the women. And Asuka and Rhea are stars, so that just
and they deserve way better. They deserve way better.
I agree. Well, on that note, women power, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, we're gonna be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel to talk all things Rampage and Dynamite. I gotta go watch them. But
It's the last
yeah,
Rampage, and then we have
this is it.
Collision.
Yeah, then we're
Collision.
switching it up to Collision and Dynamite. So that should be interesting for next week. So as always, I'm Mr. MWO. Keep tuning in, keep doing your thing, subscribing, watching us, giving us a love. I appreciate you guys, all of you. I know we're on late now. We're either super early or super late. We can never find a nice time to do it, but that's because we have busy lives. But you can always catch the repeats. With me, as always, is Mr.
Shooting Star Press
Woo.
on the TikToks. I promise I'm going to start posting TikToks again. Just
About time.
my kids are driving me insane and all that, but it's summertime, so they're home and they're driving me up the wall as kids do. But I promise I'll go back to posting TikToks because I got some things I got to say. And we're halfway to 500 subscribers now on YouTube. We're at 250. So keep liking us, keep subscribing. We're going to keep putting out content, and we're getting better and better as we keep doing this thing. This is episode 51, and tomorrow will be episode 52. So we're going to be at 100 before you know it.
Let's go. Two dudes. We out.
All right. We're out, y'all.